What if death wasn't inevitable? What if the very thing that has defined the human experience, the knowledge that our time is finite, suddenly disappeared? For as long as we have existed, we have feared the end. Ancient civilizations built pyramids, mausoleums, and elaborate burial rituals, not just to honor the dead, but to defy mortality itself. In the Epic of Gilgamesh, the world's oldest recorded story, a king embarks on a desperate quest to escape death, only to learn that eternity was never meant for mortals. Centuries later, emperors sought elixirs of life, philosophers debated the soul's permanence, and alchemists risked their lives in search of the mythical philosopher's stone, an object that promised immortality but never delivered. Yet, despite countless myths and legends, death remained undefeated. It was the great equalizer, the force that made every moment meaningful. But what if the pursuit of eternal life was not just an ancient dream? What if, for the first time in history, we stood on the brink of making it a reality? Science has already begun unraveling the mysteries of aging. Researchers have discovered that our cells do not die arbitrarily. They follow a biological clock, one that, in theory, could be rewound. Some scientists even believe that the first person who will live for centuries has already been born. If that is true, then humanity is about to cross a threshold unlike any before. But as history has shown, every great discovery comes with consequences. If we could truly live forever, for centuries, aging was an inescapable fate, a slow but inevitable process encoded into our very biology. But what if it wasn't? What if aging was not a law of nature, but a disease, one that could be cured? Scientists now believe that the key to immortality may already be hidden within us. At the heart of aging lies a microscopic clock, our telomeres, the protective caps at the ends of our DNA. With every cell division, these caps shrink until they can no longer protect the genetic code, triggering cellular decay. But researchers have discovered something remarkable. Certain organisms, like the immortal jellyfish Turritopsis dohrnii, have the ability to reset their biological clock, effectively reversing aging. Could we do the same? Some believe we are already on the verge of unlocking this secret. Experiments with gene editing and regenerative medicine suggest that we may be able to extend human life dramatically. In 2015, scientists successfully lengthened the lifespan of mice by altering their genes. In Silicon Valley, biotech companies are racing to develop therapies that could slow, stop, or even reverse the aging process. Billionaires are funding projects to reprogram human cells, hoping to buy not just more years, but eternity. And then there's cryonics, the idea that death itself may be reversible. Right now, hundreds of people lie frozen in liquid nitrogen, their bodies waiting for a future where science can bring them back. Some experts dismiss it as fantasy, but others argue that if technology continues to advance, revival may not be impossible. After all, nature has already provided a blueprint. Certain animals, like the wood frog, can survive freezing temperatures by suspending their biological functions. Could humans one day do the same? But perhaps the most radical vision of immortality isn't biological at all. Some scientists believe that the mind, the essence of who we are, could one day be transferred into machines. The concept of mind uploading suggests that if we could map the human brain down to its smallest detail, we might be able to create a digital version of ourselves, one that could live indefinitely in a simulated world. But would that still be us? Or just a sophisticated copy? The possibilities seem limitless. But one question remains. If science can make death optional, will society be ready? Imagine a world where no one dies. A world where medicine, technology, and science have conquered mortality, and human life stretches indefinitely. At first, it seems like the ultimate victory, an age of boundless possibility where every moment can last forever. But beneath the surface, immortality carries consequences we may not be prepared for. If death is no longer a certainty, what happens to the way we live? For centuries, our ambitions, our urgency, and even our sense of purpose have been shaped by the knowledge that time is limited. Without an endpoint, do we lose the drive? To achieve, to create, to love? Would an infinite existence eventually dissolve into monotony? Some philosophers warn that immortality could strip life of meaning, leaving us trapped in an endless cycle of repetition, craving an end that will never come. Then, there's the question of space. Right now, overpopulation is already a growing crisis. More people means more demand for food, water, and energy. But in a world where no one dies, and generations continue to accumulate, how long before we reach a breaking point? Would we be forced to limit births to maintain balance? And if so, who decides who gets to be born? Perhaps even more unsettling is the idea that eternal life may not be for everyone. Right now, life-extending treatments are expensive and experimental, accessible only to the wealthiest individuals. If immortality remains a privilege of the elite, will it create a new form of inequality, where some have unlimited time, while others still face the limits of a normal lifespan? Could society divide into two classes, those who live forever and those who don't? Even if everyone had access to eternal life, there is one question we can't ignore. Should we be allowed to choose when to die? If life has no natural ending, does death become a personal decision? And if so, could the pressure to opt out become as common as the pressure to stay alive? For all its promise, immortality may not be the blessing we imagine. It forces us to confront the very nature of what it means to be human. Because in the end, if we erase death, do we erase what makes life truly matter? For those who dream of immortality, the promise is simple: an end to suffering, an eternity to explore, to learn, to evolve. But could an unending life change us in ways we can't yet imagine? If the fear of death disappears, does morality shift with it? Throughout history, mortality has been a guiding force. Behind ethics, law, and even our deepest values, the urgency of life has often inspired acts of kindness, bravery, and sacrifice. But in a world where life never ends, what happens? To the weight of our choices, do we still value moments, relationships, or even justice? In the same way, if mistakes are no longer permanent, if time stretches infinitely ahead, do consequences lose their meaning? There's also the question of power. If certain individuals or groups gain control over immortality, could they become rulers of time itself? Throughout history, the powerful have sought ways to extend their reigns. Emperors, monarchs, and dictators who feared the one thing they couldn't escape: death. If immortality were no longer a myth, would the world be trapped under the influence of those who refuse to step aside? Would leaders govern for centuries? Would corporations be controlled by the same few people, shaping the future indefinitely? And then there's war. Human history is defined by conflict, often fought with the knowledge that life is fragile, that generations will pass, that the future will belong to someone else. But in a world where death is no longer a certainty, do conflicts become endless? If leaders and soldiers alike never age, does war become a perpetual cycle? Without the need to replenish forces, without the inevitability of change, could battles stretch across centuries? Perhaps the most unsettling question of all is one we may not have considered. If we lose the ability to die, do we also lose the ability to change? Death has always been a reset, a way for new ideas, new leaders, and new generations to shape the world. If the same people hold on forever, does progress itself begin to slow? Would society stagnate, trapped in the vision of those who refuse to let go? Immortality may offer freedom from death, but it forces us to ask, at what cost? If we truly lived forever, would we become something unrecognizable? Or, in seeking eternity, do we risk losing what makes us human in the first place? For all our speculation, one truth remains: we are not yet immortal. But as science advances, as technology inches closer to rewriting the rules of life, the question isn't just can we achieve immortality, it's should we? Perhaps the real weight of this question lies not in science, but in philosophy. Some argue that mortality is not a flaw, but a feature, an essential part of the human experience. Our lives are meaningful because they are finite. Love, ambition, and even regret exist because we know our time is limited. If we take that limit away, do we risk unraveling the very things that make life worth living? And yet, others see the fight against aging as no different from the fight against disease. Why should we accept death as an inevitability if we have the power to prevent it? We already strive to extend life with medicine, nutrition, and technology. Is immortality just the next step in that pursuit? If we could give people more time, more moments with loved ones, more opportunities to explore the world, why wouldn't we? Then there's the middle ground, the idea that it isn't immortality we should seek, but choice. A future where death is no longer something that happens to us, but a decision we make for ourselves. Some envision a world where people live as long as they wish, choosing when and how to step away. But is humanity ready for such a responsibility? Could we truly decide when we've had enough? Ultimately, immortality forces us to confront not just the limits of science, but the essence of who we are. Would eternity make us gods, or prisoners of time? Would it give us endless potential, or rob us of meaning? For now, these are just questions, but one day, they may demand answers. And when that day comes, when the choice between mortality and eternity is no longer theoretical, what will we choose? This video has come to an end, but the discovery continues. Check out more content on the channel and subscribe so you don't miss what's next. Thank you for watching.